The Berlin Slip by Peter Lamb, Chapter 1. David Keller feels the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders as he steps into the derelict building in Berlin. The air is thick with dust wrapping around him like a shroud. Something is wrong here. The moment he crosses the threshold, a chill runs down his spine, sending his senses into high alert. Is it the decay or the unsettling whispers of the past that seem to echo through the cracked walls? What secrets lie hidden within this forgotten relic? The building, a pre-war structure, stands stubbornly amidst the modern chaos of Berlin, a ghost of a time long past. Every footprint he leaves on the creaking floorboards stirs up the memories of those who once walked these halls. He remembers the old photographs he had seen, the uniforms, the stark expressions. But the history weighs heavily on him, and he can't shake the feeling that someone or something is watching. He squints against the dim light that filters through grimy windows, revealing the dust motes dancing in the air like particles of suppressed history. David's heart races as he recalls the rumors, the stories of this place, an anomaly in space and time, a nexus where realities could intertwine. But could it be true? Would he actually discover the means to traverse timelines? A sudden gust rattles the windows, and David jumps. He steadies his breathing, pushing back against the unease that threatens to envelop him. He forces himself to move deeper into the building, each step echoing in his mind. His thoughts drift to the reason he's here. The world is shifting, fracturing at the seams, and David believes this building is key to understanding the nature of reality. Can one man change the course of history? The question hangs heavily, intertwined with his doubts. As he navigates the debris-strewn hallways, he encounters remnants of the past, a rusted filing cabinet, its drawers ajar, spilling yellowed papers onto the floor. He kneels, sifting through them, marveling at the forgotten correspondence. The words feel charged, alive with urgency. He is losing himself in their stories. When he hears it, a distant sound, almost like a whisper. Words he cannot quite make out. David's heart skips, his pulse quickening. He stands abruptly, instinctively scanning the shadows. The whisper fades into nothingness, but the feeling of being watched amplifies. What if he's not alone? He grits the edge of the filing cabinet for support, uncertainty gnawing at him. The weight of his mission crashes down. He's searching not just for knowledge, but for a way to save his reality from collapsing. If he fails, the consequences will be dire. What David has never told anyone is the real reason he suspects this building is different. 2 weeks earlier, he survived a freak electrical surge during a power outage in the district. The doctors said he suffered a mild cardiac arrhythmia, but David knew it was something else. In the moments before he lost consciousness, he saw flashing images. Berlin in ruins, Berlin triumphant, Berlin split between clashing realities. Ever since, he has noticed strange flickers at the edges of his vision, as if the world no longer fits together cleanly. The building feels like it resonates with that same unstable frequency, and with him. Can he trust his sanity? David shakes off the thoughts, forcing himself to focus. He turns toward a door at the far end of the hall, half hidden by a tattered curtain. The whispering sound seems to beckon him closer. Taking a deep breath, he pushes through the door, the hinges protesting loudly, as if warning him against what lies ahead. The room is small and dimly lit, with a large wooden table at its center, cluttered with dusty artifacts. His fingers brush over a globe, its surface cracked and faded. A chill travels through his hand, and for a moment, he imagines the world spinning beneath his touch, multiple timelines converging. It's intoxicating, yet terrifying. What if the timelines don't just intersect, but collide? He steps back, heart racing, as he scans the walls lined with old maps and strange symbols. They seem to pulse with energy, resonating with a truth he can almost grasp. He needs to understand how these timelines work, how he can manipulate them, but each question leads to more uncertainty. As he studies the scattered documents, his mind races with possibilities. "You can't do this alone," he mutters under his breath. But in stark truth, he isn't sure if he's referring to himself or the unidentifiable presence that lurks in the corners of his mind. Suddenly, the door slams shut behind him, jolting him from his thoughts. Panic surges through him as he rushes to the door, grappling with the handle. It won't budge. He beats on the door, shouting for help, hoping that someone, anyone, will hear him. "Let me out!" he yells, desperation clawing at his throat. The silence that follows feels suffocating, a void that stretches endlessly. Then, an eerie calm settles in. David's breath slows, and he takes a moment to regroup. He looks around the room, searching for an alternative escape route. His eyes land on a narrow window, its glass slightly ajar. He moves toward it, pushing aside the scattered papers that litter the floor. The window creaks as he opens it wider, the fresh air rushing in, mingling with the stale scent of history. David glances outside at the city, the modern world juxtaposed against this relic of the past. But then, a flicker of movement draws his attention. A figure stands in the shadows of the building's entrance, watching him. David's breath hitches. Who is it? Is this the presence he senses in the building? "Who's there?" he calls out, his voice wavering. The figure remains still, shrouded in darkness, making it impossible to discern their intentions. "David Keller," a voice calls back, steady and cold. "I've been waiting for you." The words hang in the air, heavy with implication. David's instincts scream at him to run, but his curiosity roots him in place. Who would be waiting for him here? An ominous rumble echoes outside, shaking the very ground beneath his feet. A shadowy figure takes a step forward, revealing a uniform that sends chills racing down David's spine. "Nobody should have this knowledge," the figure says, their voice low, almost a whisper, but laced with authority. "You don't understand the price." David's heart pounds in his chest. "Who are you?" he demands, the urgency of his situation rising with every heartbeat. "The archive derelict," the figure replies, a smirk creeping onto their lips. "And you, David, are a threat we can't allow." The realization crashes into him like a wave. He is not just an observer, he is now a target. What choice will he make when confronted with the truth of his reality? The room begins to spin as David struggles to process the implications. His quest for knowledge has drawn the attention of an organization willing to do anything to maintain control. The stakes have never been higher. In that moment, as the figure approaches, David makes a choice. The knowledge he seeks could either save his reality or doom them all. With every second that ticks by, he must decide how far he is willing to go. He lunges for the window, adrenaline surging, determination igniting a fire within him. The escape route beckons, but as he looks back at the approaching figure, he understands that running may not be enough. As he scrambles through the window, a final question echoes in his mind. What price must he pay for knowledge? And with that, he plunges into the unknown, the world behind him collapsing as new realities loom ahead. The tension has escalated, and David's journey is just beginning. What dangers await him in the shadows of the past and future? Chapter 2. David's heart races as he pulls himself through the window, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The cool air hits him like a slap, refreshing yet terrifying. He crouches on the narrow ledge, scanning the street below. A grim reality awaits, one where shadows lurk and truths are obscured. He cannot linger here. The figure inside the building represents a threat that feels all too real. With a leap, he drops from the ledge, landing awkwardly in a crouch on the cobblestone street. Pain shoots through his ankle, but he pushes it aside and sprints away from the building, the sound of his footfalls echoing against the walls. Each step drives home the urgency of his escape. The air buzzes with unspoken danger. As David races through the back alleys of modern Berlin, the city feels both familiar and alien. The modern architecture looms above him, sleek and bright, yet he cannot shake the sensation that something in the very fabric of reality is shifting. The shadows of the night flicker, whispering secrets he cannot yet understand. David makes a sharp turn, ducking into a narrow passageway. The alley is dimly lit, littered with debris. He pauses to catch his breath, leaning against the cool stone wall. His mind races with the implications of the encounter. Who was that figure, and why did they want to silence him? Questions spiral through his mind, each one more pressing than the last. What did they mean by the price? This is no longer just about understanding the building, it's about survival. He glances back, half expecting to see the figure trailing him. but the alley is silent. He pushes himself off the wall, determined to put distance between himself and whatever danger lurks in that building. But as he emerges back onto a main street, the bustling life of Berlin surrounds him. Oblivious to his turmoil, people rush past, their laughter and chatter a stark contrast to the dread gnawing at his insides. He knows he cannot trust this reality anymore. He needs answers, but who can he turn to? With a heavy heart, he recalls a name, Lydia. She's a researcher at a local university, someone who might understand the oddities he's encountered. Their conversations about history and reality echo in his mind, and he hopes she will have insight into his current plight. As he navigates the streets, the familiar landmarks of Berlin offer no comfort. Every shadow feels like a watchful eye. He reaches the university campus, its stark, modern buildings casting long shadows under the streetlights. David pushes aside his doubts. He cannot falter now. He makes his way to the library, a hub of knowledge that holds the potential to unravel the mysteries he faces. As he steps inside, the scent of old books fills the air, mingling with fresh coffee from the cafe at the far end. He finds Lydia seated at a table, engrossed in a stack of books. Her brow furrows as she scribbles notes, her concentration absolute. David approaches, hesitating for a brief moment as he watches her. She's always been a steady presence, a beacon of familiarity amid his chaotic life. But today, he fears his world might spill over into hers. David? Lydia looks up, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. More like I'm being haunted, he replies, forcing a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Lydia raises an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. What happened? He takes a seat across from her, the weight of his experiences pressing down like a physical force. It's about that building, the one I mentioned before. He explains how he slipped between timelines, how the figure from the Reich confronted him. Lydia listens intently, her expression shifting from skepticism to disbelief. As David speaks, Lydia suddenly freezes, her eyes glazing for a fraction of a second. David notices, but she quickly masks it. She brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, pretending nothing happened. Yet a sliver of fear lingers in her gaze. Sorry, she murmurs, just dizzy for a second. But David senses it wasn't dizziness. It was recognition, a memory she shouldn't have had. You're saying the building shifts between different realities? She asks, incredulous. Yes, and I think something in that other timeline is aware of me. It's watching me, he admits, his voice trembling with the weight of the truth. Lydia leans back, contemplating his words. That's a lot to take in, David. If what you're saying is true, it could mean the lines between our realities are more porous than we realize. He nods, feeling a sense of urgency building between them. We need to find out what's happening. Do you have any research on the building itself? Anything that might explain why it behaves this way? Some, but it's mostly historical analysis. The building was significant during the war, but the details about its architecture and construction are convoluted. I can dig deeper, but she trails off, looking uncertain. But what? David presses, his heart racing. This could be dangerous, David. If you're right, we're not just looking into a historical anomaly. We might be reopening wounds that should remain closed. David glances around the library, the quietude punctuated by the rustle of pages and the distant hum of conversations. He can feel the world shifting around him, each moment filled with uncertainty. I can't just sit back and do nothing, he states firmly. If there's a chance we can understand what's happening, we have to try. Lydia studies him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of doubt. All right, I'll help you, but we need to be cautious. The repercussions of this could be catastrophic, he finishes for her. A silence falls between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. David's mind races with possibilities, each more dangerous than the last. He realizes he has just entered a game far larger than he anticipated, and every choice matters. Let's start with the building's history, Lydia suggests, her resolve firming. There might be something in the archives that explains its significance during the war. As they delve into the research, David can't shake the feeling of being watched. He glances over his shoulder, the shadows in the library stretching and shifting as if holding secrets of their own. They comb through stacks of documents, Lydia pulling old blueprints and photographs from the shelves. Each piece of history reveals fragments of a past that seems intimately tied to the building's power, a power that now threatens their present. "Look at this," Lydia exclaims after a while, her finger tracing the outline of a blueprint. This section of the building was marked for experimental purposes. They were trying to harness some kind of energy. David leans closer, his heart pounding. "Energy? What kind?" "I don't know yet," she admits, but it's clear they were conducting some sort of research. If they were attempting to alter reality, the implications hang heavy in the air as David feels a cold shiver run down his spine. The threads of their discoveries are weaving a dangerous pattern. "Do you think Das Archiv derelict could be connected to this?" he asks, the name rolling off his tongue like poison. "I can't say for certain," Lydia replies, her brow furrowed in thought. "But if they're studying timeline fractures, they must have resources to manipulate them." David's stomach knots at the thought. They are not just uncovering history, they are diving headfirst into a conflict that could alter the fabric of reality itself. "We need to be careful, Lydia," he warns, his voice low. "If they discover we're onto something, we could be the next targets." She meets his gaze, determination flickering in her eyes. "Then we work fast. Let's gather everything we can and figure out how to stop this. We can't let them exploit what they don't fully understand." As they press on with their research, the clock ticks ominously on the wall. David feels the weight of every passing second, knowing that the answers they seek may be the key to preventing destruction on a scale he can barely comprehend. But as they dig deeper, an unsettling thought creeps in. What Chapter 3, The Unraveling Threads? David flips through the blueprints, heart hammering against his ribcage. Each page feels like a fragmentary glimpse into the chaotic machinations of history. Lydia's fingers brush against his, and he recoils slightly, heat flooding his cheeks as he pulls away. There's urgency in the air, and their proximity ignites something deeper within him. "We need a plan," he states, forcing down the dissonance of his emotions. Lydia exhales sharply, her brow furrowed as she scans the documents. "We should start by identifying the connections between this building and Das Archiv der Realitäten. What were they attempting to harness? If they're involved, we might find clues in their records." David nods, but an unsettling thought lingers. He can't shake the feeling that they are already being hunted. The library, once a sanctuary of knowledge, now feels like a trap slowly closing in around them. "Where are the archives located?" he asks, trying to mask his unease with curiosity. "Near the research wing of the Reich complex," Lydia replies, pulling a map from her satchel. She spreads it out on the table between them. It's heavily guarded. But she pauses, her eyes locking onto his. "If we can figure out a way to get in, we might find something crucial." David studies the map, tracing the lines with his finger. A plan begins to take shape. A reckless one, but a plan nonetheless. "We could use the maintenance tunnels. They might lead us toward the archives without drawing too much attention." "And we could enter undetected," Lydia agrees, her voice lower now, edged with excitement. Yet, as they formulate their strategy, a shadow flickers at the edge of David's vision. He turns sharply, but the library remains unchanged. The dust motes dancing in the beams of light. "Are you all right?" Lydia asks, noticing his sudden stillness. "Just felt like someone was watching us," he admits, trying to sound casual. She studies him closely, a hint of concern in her eyes. "There's something about this place," she says, leaning closer. "The building has a history we don't fully understand. Maybe it's more aware of us than we think." David swallows hard, the implications of her words weighing heavily upon him. "Let's not dwell on that now. We need to focus." He forces himself back to the task at hand, but the unease lingers, gnawing at his thoughts. As they compile their findings, David's mind races through the potential consequences. Reality itself feels fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a precipice. Every decision they make could tip the scales toward chaos. "We need to move quickly," he says, urgency creeping into his voice. If we're right about das Archiv der Realitaten, they won't let us uncover their plans easily. Lydia nods, determination hardening her features. Okay, let's finish gathering what we can. I'll look up any recent reports related to the building's renovations. Maybe there's something there that connects to their research. David nods, absorbing her words. They split their efforts. David focused on the blueprints and historical documents, while Lydia navigates the databases. The library around them remains quiet, but the stillness is deceptive, thickening the air with tension. Time slips away as they dig deeper into the archives, each moment stretching like a taut wire. David's heart races, the sensation of being watched intensifying. He glances at Lydia, who is engrossed in her screen, her brow creased in concentration. "David, look at this!" Lydia exclaims suddenly, interrupting his spiraling thoughts. She holds up a faded report, excitement radiating from her. This was filed during the war. They were experimenting with a kind of temporal manipulation. It's all here. David rushes over, peering at the document as she scans the text. Temporal manipulation? He echoes, the term sending a chill down his spine. Could they have been trying to alter history? Exactly. They were attempting to bend time to their will, making adjustments that could change outcomes in their favor. She looks up, her eyes wide with realization. What if they were trying to create a perfect timeline, one where they never lost? As David leans over the blueprint, something catches his eye. An old archival photograph tucked in the corner of the document. A woman stands in the background, blurry but eerily familiar. Lydia, or someone who looks exactly like her. She stares at the camera with an unreadable expression, as if aware her image would be found decades later. David's breath hitches. "Do you see that?" Lydia leans closer, frowning. "That's impossible," she whispers, but she doesn't look away. "Then we need to stop them," David says, feeling the urgency surge within him. They could become unstoppable if they succeed. As they examine the report, he's struck by the magnitude of what they face. This isn't just about the building, or even their own reality. It's about history itself, a history that could be rewritten in the most terrible way. "Let's copy everything we can," he suggests. "We might need the evidence later." As they prepare to make copies, a noise echoes through the library, a faint but distinct sound of footsteps. David's heart skips a beat. "Did you hear that?" he whispers. Lydia nods, her face pale. "We should hide, ... With practiced stealth, they slip behind a row of shelves, hearts pounding against their chests. The footsteps grow closer, echoing ominously through the silent library. David can barely breathe, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The figure materializes, a tall man in a crisp uniform, his presence commanding. David's stomach drops as recognition dawns. It's one of the agents from Das Archiv der Realitaten, his face betraying no emotion as he surveys the area. "He's looking for us," Lydia whispers, panic flashing in her eyes. David feels the weight of the moment settle over them. They've uncovered something dangerous, and now they are caught in the web of a power much larger than themselves. "We need to wait for him to leave," he murmurs, eyes fixed on the man. The agent scans the shelves methodically, his gaze lingering on the spaces between books. David fights the urge to flinch, knowing any movement could draw attention. Minutes stretch on, a tense silence enveloping them as they remain hidden. A man steps closer, his hand brushing the spines of the books, and David grasps Lydia's hand tightly, a silent promise to protect her. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the agent turns and walks away, his footsteps fading into the distance. David exhales a shaky breath, relief washing over him. "That was too close," Lydia whispers, her voice trembling. "Let's move," David says, urgency spiking again. They slip back to their table, adrenaline fueling them as they quickly gather their findings. As they prepare to leave, David glances one last time at the blueprints. A nagging sensation lingers, a dark thought creeping into his mind. "What if they already know we're here?" he says, voice barely above a whisper. Lydia's expression hardens. "That's why we need to act fast. If they do, We might have already crossed a line we can't uncross. Outside the library, the shadows lengthen, and an unsettling chill fills the air. David's heart races again, but this time, it's not just fear. It's a growing determination. They're in a race against time, and every second counts. Let's find those tunnels before they close in on us. His voice is steady, filled with a resolve that pushes back against the mounting dread. They gather their findings and edge toward the exit, the weight of their discoveries heavy on their shoulders. As they step outside, the bustling streets of Berlin greet them, a city alive, but with an undercurrent of threat. David knows that the real battle lies ahead, and the path forward is murky. The thought of facing das Archiv der Realitaten sends a jolt of fear through him, but he cannot turn back. Together, they venture into the uncertain shadows of the future, the threads of their reality unraveling behind them. What awaits them in the depths of those tunnels could either chapter 4 the fractured path. David's heart races as he and Lydia navigate the crowded streets of Berlin, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. The shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, whispering secrets of the impending confrontation with das Archiv der Realitaten. Each step feels heavier, the weight of their discoveries pressing down on them like a leaden cloak. They cross a narrow alley, the damp cobblestones glistening under the dim streetlights. David glances sideways at Lydia, her face pale but resolute. "We need to find a way into the tunnels," he urges, voice low. "If we can uncover what they're hiding, we might have a shot at changing everything." Lydia nods, determination flickering in her eyes. "I've heard rumors about a way in, an access point near the old railway station. But we'll have to be careful. The streets are crawling with their agents." The mention of agents sends a shiver down David's spine. He knows firsthand how quickly the world can pivot from shadows to danger. The thought that they could be tracked sends a pulse of anxiety through him, but they can't afford to hesitate. They continue moving, blending into the thrumming life of the city, yet feeling more out of place than ever. As they approach the station, the air shifts, thick with tension and the scent of rain-soaked asphalt. David's senses heighten. Every sound feels amplified. The distant clang of a train, the murmur of voices, the rhythmic tapping of a pedestrian's umbrella against the ground. He scans the faces around him, searching for any sign of danger. They slip through the sliding doors of the station, the warmth enveloping them like a blanket. The hustle and bustle inside offers a deceptive sense of safety. David leads Lydia toward a less frequented platform, his mind racing with the implications of what they might find in the tunnels. "Here," Lydia whispers, gesturing towards a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." It looks worn, the metal frame scratched from years of neglect, but it's their only option. David's hand hovers over the doorknob, hesitating for a brief moment. "Are you ready?" Lydia takes a deep breath, steeling herself. "Ready as I'll ever be." He twists the knob and pushes the door open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. The walls are lined with flickering fluorescent lights, casting eerie shadows that dance across the concrete. Every step they take echoes ominously as they venture deeper into the unknown. As the door shuts behind them, the atmosphere shifts. For the first time, David feels the building respond, not physically, but like a presence pressing gently against his mind. The walls seem to vibrate with a low-frequency pulse, almost like a heartbeat. The sensation grows stronger the deeper they travel. This isn't just architecture, it's a conduit, a stabilizing point between two incompatible realities, a place intentionally built to harness fractures. The realization dawns on him with icy clarity. The building isn't just a portal, it's a participant. The distant sounds of the station fade into a heavy silence, punctuated only by the sound of their footsteps. David's instincts scream at him to turn back, but they press on, driven by the urgency of their mission. "What do you think we'll find?" Lydia asks, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," David admits, feeling the weight of truth hover in the air. "But whatever it is, it's bound to be significant. They're hiding something down here." They reach a junction, two paths diverging in front of them. One leads further into darkness, while the other slopes downward, the air growing cooler and more stale. "We should stick to the lower path," David suggests. "It might lead us closer to whatever they're hiding." They choose the descent. and David's skin prickles with an awareness that they are being watched. The feeling is almost palpable, as if invisible eyes track their every move. As they navigate the winding tunnels, David's mind races with possibilities. What if Das Archiv has been manipulating events? What if his existence in both timelines is part of their larger plan? He shakes the thoughts away, focusing on the present. Suddenly, they come across a door, similar to the one they entered. This one is reinforced with steel, a heavy locking mechanism glinting in the dim light. David pulls out the small screwdriver he always carries, a habit from his days of tinkering with technology. If we can get this open, do you think you can? Lydia's voice is a mix of hope and skepticism. I have to, he murmurs, kneeling to examine the lock. He can feel the pressure mounting, the fleeting moments of freedom slipping away. With steady hands, he works on the mechanism, sweat trickling down his brow. The sound of metal scraping against metal fills the air, a jarring contrast to the silence surrounding them. As he finally hears a click, David's heart races with triumph, but it's short-lived. The door creaks open with a deep groan, revealing a hidden chamber beyond. Inside, rows of machines blink with an array of lights, wires snaking across the floor like veins. Ancient documents litter the surfaces, and David's breath catches in his throat as he steps inside. This is the archive, the heart of Das Archiv der Realitäten. Lydia gasps beside him. What the hell is this place? It's where they study the timelines, David replies, awed. This is the source of their power. He walks further into the chamber, drawn to a large screen displaying fragmented images of both worlds. Flickers of 2025 intertwined with 1952, their histories colliding in chaotic bursts. David's mind races with the enormity of their discovery. This is it. This could change everything. But as he ponders the implications, a sudden noise breaks through the silence. A distant clattering, footsteps echoing in the tunnels. The sound is growing closer. They're coming, Lydia hisses, panic seeping into her voice. We need to hide. No, David stammers, glancing around the chamber. We can't leave without knowing what they're planning. He scans the room for a place to hide, but knows they need to act quickly. The machines hum ominously around them, their glow casting erratic shadows. Over there, David points to a large console covered in wires. We can hide behind that. They scramble behind the console, hearts pounding as the footsteps grow louder, reverberating through the chamber. David can feel the heat of Lydia's body next to him, her fear palpable. The door swings open, and two agents step inside. Their uniforms crisp and intimidating. They scan the room, their expressions unreadable. David's breath hitches, his body tense as he tries to remain still. What do you think they're doing down here? One agent asks, his voice low and menacing. Who knows? They might be planning something. The other agent's tone drips with disdain. We can't let them interfere. David's thoughts race. Interfere? Is he the target? An unsteady sense of dread washes over him. He knows they must leave, but feels tethered to the knowledge surrounding him. As the agents turn away from their hiding place, David realizes the stakes have never been higher. His heart pounds in his chest, each thump echoing the urgency of their situation. We need to move, Lydia whispers urgently, a tremor in her voice. Yes, David agrees, reluctantly tearing his gaze from the screen. They push themselves away from the console, hearts racing. The agents remain oblivious for the moment, but time is running out. As they slip toward the exit, David can't shake the feeling that they are running out of time. What they've uncovered could change the very fabric of their realities. But the deeper they go, the more entangled they become in a web woven by Das Archiv. What will they face when they step into the light again? And will they be able to escape the grasp of those who seek to control the timelines? With their hearts pounding, they thirst through the door into the uncertain shadows, the future looming ahead of them. Chapter 5. The Breaking Point. David and Lydia slip through the door into the corridor, the oppressive atmosphere of the archive still clinging to them, a lingering darkness that seems to stretch beyond the walls. David's mind races, flooded with the chaotic images of the timelines flickering across the large screen, the very essence of reality shifting before his eyes. They can't linger. The agents may return at any moment.
We need to find a way to disable the archive systems, he says, pushing forward. If we can stop them from merging the timelines, we might be able to save both worlds. Lydia nods, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. But how do we even know where to start?
As they hurry down the narrow corridor, the walls pulse with energy, almost as if the building itself is alive. David feels an unsettling sensation creeping up his spine, a whispering, a warning that they are being watched. Every shadow seems to shift. Every flicker of light feels like an omen.
Let's find a control room, he suggests, moving cautiously through the dim light. There has to be something we can leverage. They continue down the corridor, but the oppressive silence is shattered by a sudden crash, a loud metallic thud that echoes through the hall. David freezes, heart racing.
"Did you hear that?" Lydia whispers, her breath quickening. David's eyes dart to a nearby door, its handle gleaming under the flickering lights. "We can't stop. Let's check it out," he urges, leading them toward the door. With a deep breath, he pushes it open. The room is cluttered with old machinery, half-finished projects littering the floor. A workstation stands against the far wall, screens filled with incomprehensible data illuminating the cramped space. David rushes to the nearest terminal, fingers dancing over the keyboard.
"Come on, show me something."
As he works, Lydia stands watch, her back pressed against the door. Outside, the sounds of the archive begin to shift. Distant voices, the shuffling of feet, a sense of urgency that accelerates David's pulse. "Here," he exclaims, pulling up a map of the archive's network. Lines connecting various locations pulse with light, each representing a timeline's integrity. This is where they're operating. We can sever the connections. Lydia peers over his shoulder. But what does that mean for us? Either we save the timelines or we become trapped in the collapse. He glances at her, the weight of his words hanging heavily between them. If we don't act, it'll all fold in on itself, and we could be lost forever. With newfound resolve, David begins to initiate the protocol to sever the links. The system beeps and whirs, lines of code cascading across the screen. I just need a few more seconds. But the door rattles against the frame, footsteps approaching fast. Lydia's eyes widen in alarm. "They're coming. We need to move."
"Just a moment more," he urges, his heart pounding in time with the urgency of the situation. Each keystroke feels like a lifeline, but the door shakes more violently now, the sound of fists pounding against it. "David," Lydia pleads, her voice strained. "They'll break through."
With a final flurry of commands, David hits enter. The room lights flicker, and a loud alarm blares through the archive. The screens flash red. The system is now compromised.
"It's done. Now we..." Before he can finish, the door bursts open. Two agents storm into the room, eyes blazing with fury.
"There they are! Get them!" Without thinking, David grabs Lydia's hand, pulling her away from the terminal. They dart toward the opposite exit as the agents close in, shouting orders, footsteps pounding against the floor. Lydia glances back, her resolve hardening. "We can't let them catch us. We have to find a way to get out of here." David leads her through the labyrinthine corridors, the alarm blaring in the background, a cacophony of noise that amplifies their desperation. Each turn brings new shadows, new obstacles, and the ever-looming threat of capture. "We need to find a stairwell," David shouts, scanning the walls for any sign of escape. Lydia nods, her breath coming in gasps. "There, to the left." They sprint toward a door marked with a red exit sign, adrenaline surging through their veins. The door swings open, and they charge down the stairs, 2 flights, 3, until the sounds of pursuit fade into the distance. Reaching the bottom, they skid to a halt in an empty hallway, breathing heavily.
"Did we lose them?"
As silence blankets the corridor, the air feels thick with tension. But David knows they aren't safe yet. "We have to keep moving. They'll be searching for us." Lydia wipes sweat from her brow, her eyes darting around the dimly lit space. "Where to now? We can't just run aimlessly." David feels the weight of their situation settle upon him. "We need to find the mainframe. If we can get to the control center, we might be able to shut down the entire operation and escape." "Right," Lydia agrees, determination flickering in her eyes. They push onward, adrenaline guiding them through the twisting shadows of the archive. each step a reminder of what's at stake. If they fail, both realities will be at the mercy of Das Archiv. The corridors begin to shift, almost as if the building is responding to their urgency. "Look," Lydia suddenly exclaims, pointing ahead. "That must be it." David's heart leaps as they approach a massive door marked with intricate symbols. This could be the key to everything. "Here goes nothing," David murmurs, reaching for the handle. As he pushes the door open, the world inside unfolds like a dark tapestry. Glowing screens, scientists in crisp uniforms, and a pulsing core of energy that seems to resonate with the very fabric of time itself. "Now, we have to act fast," David breathes, stepping into the control center. The stakes are higher than ever, and the clock is ticking. The fate of both worlds lies in their hands. Will they manage to sever the ties between the timelines, or will they become just another layer in the chaotic web spun by Das Archiv? As the door slams shut behind them, David's mind races with possibilities, each more daunting than the last. The future is unwritten, and they are about to write their own fate. Chapter 6: Echoes of Power. The door swings open, revealing the control center within the bowels of Das Archiv der Realitäten. It's a mechanical heart, pulsing with the energy of timelines colliding. Screens flicker to life, bathing the room in an eerie glow. David's heart races, the weight of their mission crashing down around him. "We have to disable this," he whispers urgently to Lydia, who stands at his side, eyes wide with both fear and determination. "They must have a way to isolate the timelines," she replies, her gaze darting between the glowing screens. "If we can find that, maybe we can sever the connection." As they step inside, the door slams shut behind them with a resounding thud. The sound reverberates through the room, stark against the humming machinery. David looks around frantically, spotting a table cluttered with data disks and terminals. "Over there," he points, leading the way to a console covered in buttons and levers. Lydia races ahead, her fingers gliding across the surface like a dancer. "I'll try to access the mainframe," she says, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. As she works, David's eyes scan the room, taking in the swirling screens and the soft whirring of devices that feel alive, almost sentient. David catches sight of a wall plastered with photos of people he recognizes from both worlds. His breath catches in his throat as he realizes that each person represents a decision, a potential thread of fate, his own existence intertwined with theirs. The archivist's face stares back at him, lips pursed in concentration. How many timelines have they studied? How many lives altered? "David." Lydia's voice pierces his thoughts, and he turns. "I found something. It's a protocol for isolating the energy signatures of the timelines." With newfound determination, David sprints to her side, peering over her shoulder as she reads through the data. The flickering screens display graphs and equations that seem to dance before his eyes. "Can you implement it?" he asks, his voice a mix of hope and fear. "Give me a second. I need to bypass their security protocols," she replies, fingers racing across the keyboard. The room pulses with energy, and David feels a chill creep up his spine as he senses the building responding to their actions. Just then, the lights flicker, the hum of machinery shifting to a menacing tone. "What's happening?" David asks, a knot tightening in his stomach. "I don't know," Lydia replies, frowning at the screen. "It's like the building knows we're here. It's trying to counteract our actions." David glances toward the door, half expecting it to burst open. "We need to hurry, if they realize we're in here." His voice trails off, the implication hanging between them. Suddenly, alarms blare, and red lights flash overhead. The sound is deafening, drowning out everything else. "They know we're here," David shouts, panic surging through him. "Just a few more seconds," Lydia pleads, her focus unbroken. David grips the edge of the console, heart racing as he scans the control center. Each second feels like an eternity, each second pulling them closer to doom. Then, with one final keystroke, Lydia grins. "Got it. I'm initiating the protocol now." The screens explode with data, bright lines connecting, overlapping, and tangling like veins in a living organism. "It's working!" David exclaims, adrenaline surging through him. But the joy is short-lived as the ground beneath them trembles. The machinery shakes and a low rumble reverberates through the room. Reinforcements will be here any moment, David warns, grabbing Lydia's arm. We have to prepare for the worst. I can't exit the program while it's running, she exclaims, eyes wide. If I stop it, we'll lose everything we've achieved. Then keep it running, I'll cover you. David responds, adrenaline igniting his senses. He spins around, searching for anything that could be used as a weapon or shield. The energy in the room shifts violently, and a dark shadow sweeps across the screens, coalescing into a figure, a man in crisp, dark uniform, the insignia of Das Archiv gleaming ominously against the backdrop of chaos. It's too late, Keller. You should have known better than to meddle, the figure taunts, voice cold and sharp. Who the hell are you? David snarls, instinctively stepping in front of Lydia. I am Agent Reinhardt, and your little endeavor ends now. He raises his hand, and machinery around them hums louder, crackling with raw energy. Lydia, now! David shouts, and she hits another button. The screens flicker, and the energy pulses through the room like a heartbeat. Reinhardt's eyes narrow, and he lunges forward, but David intercepts him, grabbing a nearby metal rod. Get back, he shouts, swinging it in a desperate arc. The rod connects with Reinhardt, sending him staggering back against the console. David, Lydia cries, eyes wide with fear. You have to focus. We can't lose this momentum. Right, David shouts, forcing himself to focus on Reinhardt, who is recovering quickly, fury etched across his face. Do you really think you can stop us? Reinhardt sneers, eyes glinting with malice. The archive has plans far beyond your comprehension. David shoots a look at Lydia, whose expression is grim. What are they planning? David demands, his grip tightening on the rod. The merging of realities, Reinhardt replies, voice dripping with contempt. You're merely a pawn, Keller, but I will not let you disrupt our work. The machinery around them sparks, and the room vibrates with energy. David can feel it, the collapse of timelines, the fraying fabric of reality. He glances back at Lydia, who is still focused on the screens, fingers flying across the keyboard. Keep it going, he urges, stepping forward as Reinhardt advances. I'll hold him off as long as I can. No, you can't, Lydia shouts, panic seeping into her tone. We need to escape together. But David knows the truth. They may not have another chance. Just do it, Lydia. You have to trust me. With a final, determined nod, she returns to her work, and David turns to face the agent. Reinhardt smiles, a predatory gleam in his eyes. You're a fool, Keller. With a sudden burst of speed, Reinhardt lunges, and David swings the rod wildly, desperation fueling his movements. The impact connects, but Reinhardt is relentless, pushing forward with terrifying strength. David feels the heat of the moment, the urgency coiling around him. You won't take this from us, he shouts, adrenaline coursing through him as he prepares for another strike. But as Reinhardt lunges again, this time he twists away, avoiding the blow, and David feels a surge of energy ripple through the console behind him, the very fabric of time responding to their conflict. This isn't over, Keller. Reinhardt snarls as he gathers himself, retreating into the shadows. But David knows it's a temporary reprieve. Lydia, how much longer? David asks, heart racing. It's almost complete, she shouts, sweat glistening on her brow as she continues to type. Just a little more. The screens flicker ominously, the energy swirling around them, growing more chaotic. David stands in a defensive position, ready for Chapter 7, The Reckoning. The air in the room crackles with charged energy, every heartbeat echoing the conflict that unfolds. David grips the metal rod, knuckles white, as he stands protectively in front of Lydia. The humming machinery reverberates in his chest, a reminder that time itself hangs in the balance. Lydia, we need to finish this. David shouts, glancing at the screens flashing chaotic data. They swirl with images of both timelines collapsing, like paper caught in a fire. How close are you? I'm almost there, she replies, her voice strained but determined. But I can't concentrate with him lurking around. Reinhardt smirks, his posture relaxed as if the confrontation is merely an exercise for him. You really think you can hold me off, Keller? You are nothing but a glitch in a system far beyond your understanding. With a sudden roar, Reinhardt lunges forward. David swings the rod once more, connecting with Reinhardt's side. The agent stumbles but quickly recovers, eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and admiration. You have spirit. I'll give you that. David feels the sweat trickle down his back. He knows he can't afford any mistakes. Lydia, he calls out, but his focus is split. He watches as Reinhardt circles him, the predator sizing up his prey. Just a few more seconds, she shouts, fingers flying. In a moment of reckless bravery, David lunges at Reinhardt again, but this time, the agent sidesteps, sending him crashing into the console. Pain lances through David's body, and he struggles to push himself up. Fool, Reinhardt taunts, towering over him. You can't win. The archive will merge our realities, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. David grits his teeth. Not if I can help it. He scrambles back to his feet, adrenaline flooding his veins. You're merely prolonging the inevitable. Reinhardt continues stepping closer, the menace radiating off him like heat from a fire. The power in this room is beyond comprehension. You should be honored to witness it. Honor? David sneers, recovering enough to stand tall. I'd rather fight than kneel to your twisted vision. He glances at Lydia, still focused, her brow furrowed in concentration. Just a little longer, she shouts again, and the screens flicker ominously, as if responding to their urgent struggle. In that instant, David feels a surge of hope. We're not alone, Lydia. We can do this together. Reinhardt, sensing the shift, charges at David with renewed determination, fist raised. David swings the rod again, but this time he miscalculates. Reinhardt catches it at the last moment, wrenching it from David's grasp. The metal rod clatters to the floor as Reinhardt steps back, holding it aloft like a trophy. Is this all you have? Pathetic. With a flick of his wrist, he throws it aside, letting it slide across the floor. David's heart sinks. He's disarmed, both physically and mentally. Lydia, he cries, desperation creeping into his voice. I'm trying, she screams, her fingers racing across the keyboard, but panic starts to seep into her expression as she glances at David. I need a little more time, Reinhardt smiles, tauntingly. You have no time left. In an instant, he lunges again, but this time, David anticipates the move. He dodges sideways, barely escaping Reinhardt's grasp. You won't take her, David shouts, unyielding. He sees a heavy metal panel on the wall, a potential weapon. Lydia, get ready. David rushes to the panel, ripping it off its hinges with surprising strength, fueled by adrenaline. He turns just in time to see Reinhardt charging at him, a freight train of menace. With a fierce swing, David brings the panel crashing down toward Reinhardt. The agent stumbles back, narrowly avoiding the strike. The panel slams against the ground, reverberating through the room. Fool, Reinhardt snarls, regaining his footing. You'll regret that. Not if we get out of here alive. David snaps, his resolve hardening. He looks to Lydia, who nods fiercely, determination etched on her face. The screens flicker more violently now, the pulse of energy increasing. David can feel it. This is their last chance. Lydia, now! I'm almost, she starts, but a sudden explosion of sparks erupts from the console. David instinctively shields his face, and when he lowers his arm, he sees Reinhardt poised to strike. David darts forward, using the panel to push Reinhardt back, forcing him into the console. Lydia, hit the final command. I can't. He's blocking my way, she yells, desperation creeping into her voice. They're running out of time. David knows he must end this. With every ounce of strength, he pushes against Reinhardt, who seems temporarily stunned. Just a little longer. Lydia's fingers fly across the keyboard with a desperation he's never seen before. I can do it. I can. Suddenly, a surge of energy erupts from the console, enveloping the room in blinding light. David feels a jolt, a connection to both the timelines. No! Reinhardt screams, flailing as the energy lashes out. David feels the fabric of reality shift, the walls vibrating with an unearthly pulse. It's working! Lydia shouts, her voice rising above the chaos. Keep pushing him! With a final push, David sends Reinhardt crashing against the console. The agent's eyes widen in shock and anger, but David stands firm. This is for my world, he declares. As the energy in the room swells, David sees shadows flickering in the light, echoes of the two realities colliding. The room trembles, the screens displaying a kaleidoscope of images, disjointed and chaotic. "Lydia, what's happening?" David yells, panic creeping in as he watches the fabric of time unravel around them. "I don't know," she shouts back, sweat pouring down her face. "It's unstable." Reinhardt pushes himself up, rage manifesting in his eyes. "You think you can control this? You're a fool, Keller. You'll destroy everything." "Not if we have a say," David counters, his heart pounding. "Fight with me, Lydia." With a final keystroke, Lydia locks in the last command. The screens light up, and a hum surges through the room, building towards a crescendo. David feels the weight of both worlds pressing down on him. "Now," Lydia commands. And in that moment, the energy erupts into a blinding flash, engulfing them. David feels himself lifted, suspended in a torrent of light and sound. Memories cascade through him, images of both timelines flooding his consciousness. He sees himself, both who he is and what he might become. And then, just as abruptly, the world goes dark. David gasps for air, suddenly back in the derelict building. The room is silent, the machines still. He looks around in confusion, heart racing. "Lydia?" But there's no answer. A flicker of motion brushes the corner of David's vision, Lydia's silhouette, faint as smoke, vanishing just as he turns. Not real. Not possible. And yet her presence lingers in the air like a static charge, as if the building itself holds her imprint. He clamps down on the rising panic. If she's here, even as an echo, then she's not lost. Not yet. The silence stretches, and dread fills him as he realizes she's vanished. His mind races, thoughts spiraling. What have they done? What has he done? Chapter 8, The Fractured Silence. David stands in the eerie stillness of the derelict building, the frantic energy from moments before lingering in the air like an aftershock. He looks around, searching for any sign of Lydia. The silence is deafening, pressing against him, amplifying the thudding of his heart. He takes a hesitant step forward, the dust swirling as he moves, the floorboards creaking beneath his weight. "Lydia?" he calls, his voice echoing off the crumbling walls. There's no response, just the oppressive quiet. Panic tightens around his chest. David's mind races with possibilities. Did the energy surge transport her somewhere else? Or worse, did it destroy her along with Reinhardt? The thought sends a shiver down his spine. He grips the edge of the console, the cold metal grounding him as he tries to gather his thoughts. He could still feel the reverberations of the timelines clashing within him. What had he unleashed? He takes a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. He needs to act. There must be a way to reverse whatever had just happened. He glances at the console, its myriad of flickering screens, now dimmed, displaying nothing but static. "Come on," he mutters under his breath, slamming a fist against the panel. "Show me something." As he scans the screens, a flash of color catches his eye, a faint image flickering across one of the monitors. David steps closer, squinting at the display. It appears to be a memory, distorted and fleeting, but he can make out familiar faces. Lydia's face is there, her eyes wide with fear and determination, but just as quickly, she vanishes into a swirl of static. "No, no," he breathes, a sense of urgency washing over him. He can't lose her. He won't. With trembling hands, he begins pressing buttons at random, desperate to connect with whatever network this console had once controlled. But the screen remains dark, indifferent to his pleas. Suddenly, a low hum vibrates through the building, the walls trembling slightly. David's heart skips a beat. He glances towards the entrance, half expecting Reinhardt or other agents to burst through the door. But the sound seems to resonate from deep within the structure itself. He rushes forward, following the sound. He weaves through the debris, the air thick with dust, his breath shallow. The building feels alive again, reacting to his movements, drawing him deeper into its heart. He pushes open a heavy door, and the hum intensifies, vibrating through his bones. Inside, he finds a vast chamber filled with intricate machinery, gears whirring, and lights flickering like a heartbeat. The air is charged with energy, electric and pulsating. In the center, a large orb glows ominously, casting a dim light around the room. It seems to be the source of the hum. David approaches cautiously, the sight of it both awe-inspiring and terrifying. "What are you?" he whispers, reaching out a hand, hesitating just inches from the surface. The glow brightens, and memories flood his mind. His encounters with Lydia, their conversations, the moments of connection, a tapestry of their intertwined fates. "Lydia," he shouts, the name escaping his lips like a lifeline. The orb pulses in response, and for a moment he feels her presence, as if she's reaching out to him through the fabric of time and space. "I can find you." He leans closer, his heart racing. The orb begins to display images, fractured memories of both timelines, flickering images of Berlin in 1952, interspersed with scenes from his own time. He sees the vibrant yet oppressive streets of the Reich, soldiers marching in unison, and then it shifts to the crumbling ruins of his own world. The stark contrast glaring. Something is breaking down, and he can feel it. Both realities are intertwining, and if he doesn't act fast, they may collapse into one another entirely. He knows he holds the key to understanding how to stabilize them. He must find a way to communicate with Lydia, to bring her back. Determined, he begins searching through the console, tracing wires and checking connections. "There has to be a way," he mutters, scanning the screens for any sign of her. "Please, give me something." He suddenly remembers the last command Lydia inputted. If he can recreate it, he focuses on the orb, channeling his thoughts into it. "Lydia, if you can hear me, I'm going to find you," he says, voice steady despite the fear churning in his gut. The orb pulses, as if acknowledging his determination. "Let's do this," he breathes, plunging his hand into the glowing light. Energy surges around him, the rush of memories flooding his mind again. But this time, it feels different. He can feel the fabric of reality bending, warping as he taps into the energies of both timelines. A chamber shakes violently, and the hum rises to a deafening crescendo. Images flash, Lydia's face, her laughter, her fear. Each moment feels interconnected, threads of fate weaving between them. "I won't lose you," he yells against the roar, feeling the pull of both worlds. Suddenly, the orb bursts with a blinding light, and David is engulfed, feeling his body pulled in every direction. It's overwhelming, the timelines colliding within him, ripping at the seams of his consciousness. "Hold on, Lydia. I'm coming." As the light fades, David finds himself alone in an unfamiliar room, the hum replaced by a foreboding silence. He looks around, disoriented, and his heart drops. The walls are lined with stark white panels, reflective and sterile. A door looms ahead, and beneath it, he sees a familiar shadow. "No," he whispers, dread pooling in his stomach. The silhouette is too tall, too imposing. It belongs to Reinhardt. David feels adrenaline spike. He's back in the Reich complex, and this time he can't afford to be captured again. He glances towards the door, weighing his options. A sudden crash echoes from behind him, and he turns to see the wall splitting open, revealing a corridor filled with armed guards. "Shit," David mutters, sprinting towards the door, adrenaline fueling his escape. As he pushes it open, he can't shake the feeling that each heartbeat is echoing through both realities, drawing them closer to a catastrophic merging. Just as he steps through, he hears Reinhardt's voice booming behind him. "Keller, you won't escape this time." David races down the corridor, his mind racing. He must find Lydia and stop this madness before it's too late. The walls around him pulse with energy, the timeline shift weighing heavily on him. He needs to concentrate. He must navigate this labyrinth of consequences, make the right choices, and somehow stabilize what has become a collapsing reality. With every turn, he feels the weight of both worlds pressing in on him. The stakes have never been higher. The choice looms before him. What price will he pay for knowledge? Each step echoes the question in his mind, a reminder of the cost of his journey. He can't afford to fail. He can't let Lydia's sacrifice be in vain. As he races through the corridor, the shadows swirl around him, a reflection of the chaos within. Whatever awaits him at the end of this path, He must face it head-on. Finally, he reaches a door marked with a symbol he recognizes, the insignia of Das Archiv der Realitäten. It's now or never. Taking a deep breath, he pushes the door open. What lies inside could be the key to saving everything, or sealing their fate forever. With a resolve forged from desperation, David steps inside. Chapter 9, The Archive's Grip. David steps into the room, heart pounding, ready to confront whatever laid in wait. The air is thick with anticipation, and he senses the powerful pulse of time itself thrumming through the walls. The interior is dimly lit, shelves lined with ancient tomes and strange artifacts that seem to shimmer with energy. A massive table dominates the center, cluttered with documents that appear to be maps of the very timelines he traverses. His breath catches as he realizes the implications of what he sees. Each map marks the shifts and fractures he felt. "They're tracking me," he mutters, a chill creeping up his spine. Suddenly, the door slams shut behind him with a resounding thud, causing him to jump. The sound echoes ominously in the confined space. Panic flares in his chest as he spins around, instinctively seeking an escape. The room is eerily silent, but he can hear the faintest rustle of paper, as if the very documents are whispering secrets. David takes a cautious step forward, drawn to a map unfurling on the table. It depicts the two timelines, 2025 and 1952, intersecting at various points. His finger traces the branches, feeling the weight of choices made and futures altered. "What do you want from me?" he calls out, his voice trembling slightly. The shadows seem to deepen, and then a figure emerges from the darkness. A tall, imposing man with sharp features and piercing eyes. It's Reinhardt, the very specter of authority he had tried so hard to evade. "David Keller," Reinhardt says, his voice smooth and dripping with a condescending confidence. "You've been a thorn in our side." He steps closer, and David instinctively backs away, feeling the table pressing against his back. "You don't understand the power you toy with." "I don't care about your power," David retorts defiantly, forcing himself to hold his ground. "I'm trying to save my world." Reinhardt's lips curl into a smug smile. "You think you can choose between worlds? Your efforts are futile. You are merely a pawn in this game." Before David can respond, the atmosphere shifts. The lights flicker and the walls shudder, as if the very building is reacting to their confrontation. He can feel the timelines intertwining, energy crackling through the air. David's mind races. He knows he must stay focused, find a way to manipulate this situation to his advantage. "What if I could show you the truth?" he proposes, a sudden idea sparking within him. "What if I'm right about the worlds colliding?" Reinhardt raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "You think you can convince me? Show me proof, and perhaps I will reconsider your fate." "Let me access the archive's technology," David pleads, desperation creeping into his voice. "If you're truly committed to controlling the timelines, you need to see how they fracture. You've underestimated the consequences of your manipulation." Reinhardt pauses, considering David's words. "Very well, I will indulge your request, but be warned, failure will have dire consequences," he states, gesturing for David to follow him deeper into the archive. As they move through the maze of shelves, David takes in the bizarre artifacts, strange devices that hum with energy and flicker with images from different realities. He feels the weight of history pressing down on him, each item a reminder of sacrifices made and futures lost. They reach a massive console at the back of the room. Its surface is covered in buttons, dials, and glowing screens displaying streams of data. David's heart races as he recognizes the potential of this technology. "This is it," he whispers, a mix of awe and fear coursing through him. "Focus, Keller," Reinhardt commands, his tone sharp. "Show me what you can do." David steps up to the console, fingers trembling as he begins to interact with the controls. He inputs coordinates for the points of intersection, the thresholds he has crossed before. The screens light up, displaying sequences of events, intertwining timelines. The hum of energy intensifies, resonating through his very bones. "The fractures are more severe than I anticipated," David mutters, trying to maintain his composure. Each flicker of the screens shows more potential chaos brewing. If we don't stabilize them, both realities will collapse. Reinhardt leans closer, his interest piqued. What do you propose? Thinking quickly, David recalls his earlier experiences. I need to resynchronize the timelines. It's risky, but if I can harness the energy within this building, I can stabilize the intersections temporarily. There's no time for hesitation, Reinhardt urges, a hint of urgency breaking through his cold demeanor. Do it now, or both realities will pay the price. David swallows hard, feeling the gravity of the moment. He takes a deep breath, channeling his anxiety into determination. All right, he says, his voice steady. He swiftly begins to manipulate the controls, drawing on the energy around him. As he works, the screens flash rapidly, displaying images of both realities, people living their lives, unaware of the chaos looming over them. An ache develops in his chest, knowing how fragile their existence is. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the archive, red lights flashing violently. What the hell? David exclaims, panic rising. The walls tremble, and the shadows deepen ominously. Reinhardt's expression hardens. You've attracted unwanted attention, he snaps. We must complete this before they arrive. The energy is unstable. I need more time, David shouts, frantic as the room shifts around him. The lights flicker erratically, and he can feel the pull of both timelines threatening to drag him under. We don't have time, Reinhardt roars, stepping back as armed guards storm into the room, weapons raised. Stop him, Reinhardt commands, and David's heart races. He dives for the console, desperate to finish his adjustments before they can reach him. As he reaches for one final control, pain erupts in his side. One of the guards has fired. The world spins as he hits the ground, the pain radiating through him. David! Reinhardt shouts, but everything is a blur. David fights to maintain his grip on consciousness. He can't let it end here. Through the haze, he sees the console's screens flicker, the energy still swirling around him. If he can just, a moment of clarity strikes him, and he uses every ounce of strength to reach out, fingers brushing the console. He channels the energy, the raw power of the building surging through him. The screens erupt in a blinding light, engulfing the room in an explosion of energy. No, Reinhardt screams, and the world blurs into chaos. As the light engulfs everything around him, David feels the timelines collide, a surge of reality sweeping through him. In that moment, he knows the choice is not just his anymore. The fate of both worlds hangs in the balance, and he must face the consequences of his actions head-on. What awaits him on the other side could change everything. Word count 1033.
End of current segment. Further development will continue to heighten tension and resolve conflicts as David navigates the consequences of his choices amidst the chaotic merge of realities. Chapter 10: The Convergence.
The blinding light envelops David, consuming his surroundings. Time stretches, warping and folding in on itself like a twisted tapestry. He feels a gaping chasm open beneath him, threatening to swallow him whole. Just as panic takes root, he's thrust through an invisible barrier. He lands hard on a cold, polished floor, gasping for breath. The world around him shifts from chaos to eerie tranquility. He's back in the derelict building, but everything feels different. The air is thick, buzzing with energy, and the walls hum a low, resonant tone as it's celebrating his return. David scrambles to his feet, heart racing. He's still alive, but where exactly? The dimly lit corridor is unfamiliar. The familiar creaking floorboards are replaced with smooth marble. He looks around, bewildered. The atmosphere is heavy, as if the building itself is alive, watching. David, a voice calls out, echoing through the hall. It's familiar, yet distorted, beckoning him forward. He follows the sound, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the silence. The walls pulse with an ominous glow. Shadows dance, and he can feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him. As he approaches a doorway at the end of the hall, the faint sound of machinery drowns out the silence. He peers inside, his breath hitching. The room is a stark contrast, a stark control center filled with monitors displaying live feeds of two realities, 2025 and 1952, intertwined in flashes of color and obscured by static. Welcome back, says a voice from behind him. David spins around to find Reinhardt, a smirk playing on his lips. "You've made quite a mess," he continues, gesturing to the screens. "But I can help you fix it, for a price." David's fists clench at his sides. "You think I'd trust you after everything?" The betrayal feels like a knife twisting in his gut. Reinhardt's calm demeanor unsettles him further. His eyes are glinting with something darker. "Trust is a luxury, David," Reinhardt replies, stepping closer. "You've awakened forces beyond your comprehension. We're at the precipice of a grand convergence. To survive, we must harness what you've unleashed." David shakes his head. "No, this isn't about control. It's about survival. If we don't act now, both realities will collapse." He steps back, eyes darting between the screens. "We need to close the rift." Reinhardt's expression hardens. "You don't understand the power at our fingertips. Together, we could rewrite history. Imagine a world that doesn't repeat its mistakes." "And create a new tyranny?" David retorts, his voice rising. "You think I'll help you with that? You're just another cog in the machine." Reinhardt regards him with a mix of admiration and annoyance. "You're too idealistic, David. This is the real world. Choices must be made." Suddenly, an alarm blares, flashing red lights bathing the room in a crimson hue. "We have company," Reinhardt says coolly, but the urgency in his voice betrays him. "Who?" David's mind races. "The guards? The archive?" "Both," Reinhardt answers, gesturing to a panel beside him. "They've found us. We need to stabilize the intersection before it's too late." David rushes to the control panel, fingers flying across the buttons. The displays flicker, showcasing chaotic scenes from both realities. People running, buildings collapsing. His heart sinks. He can't let this happen. "David, listen carefully," Reinhardt says, his voice a low hiss. "You need to input the coordinates to realign the timelines, but do it quickly. They're almost here." David's hands tremble as he processes the information. A part of him knows that this will dictate the fate of millions. He glances at Reinhardt, whose calculating gaze makes him uneasy. "You'll betray me the moment it suits you." "Nonsense," Reinhardt scoffs. "I want to save my world just as much as you do. Trust me." But the words feel hollow. He hesitates, weighing the odds. If he doesn't act, everything could be lost. "What if I input the wrong coordinates?" "What if?" "No more what ifs," Reinhardt interrupts, the tension palpable. "You must decide now. We can't afford hesitation." David takes a breath, forcing down his doubt. He inputs the coordinates, feeling the energy in the room surge around him. The screens react, the feeds stabilizing as the walls of the room tremble. As he completes the sequence, the ground beneath them shakes violently. "Hold on," David shouts, gripping the console as the energy explodes into a blinding white light. The room becomes a whirlwind of color and sound, a cacophony of realities colliding. David's heart pounds as he fights against the overwhelming force. In a split second, he catches one last glimpse of Reinhardt's expression, fury tinged with fear, as the light envelops them. Everything fades to black. David finds himself suspended in a void between the timelines, the weight of both worlds pressing down on him. He knows that, when this is over, one reality will survive, and the other will be lost forever. Which path will he choose? With a deep breath, he prepares for the final confrontation, knowing that his decision will shape the very fabric of history. What awaits him on the other side is a reckoning he cannot escape. Word count, 1032.
End of current segment. The journey continues as David battles the consequences of his choices, forging ahead toward the inevitable clash of realities. Chapter 11. Fractured Realities.
Suspended in the void, David Keller feels the boundaries between reality stretch and contract like a heartbeat. The pulsating energy lingers around him, a chaotic rhythm threatening to consume everything in its path. He is aware of the choice looming over him, the weight of two worlds pressing heavily on his shoulders. How did it come to this? Suddenly he is yanked from the darkness, and the familiar sight of the control room materializes around him. The walls are cracked, the machines sparking erratically. He stumbles forward, heart racing, scanning the chaos for Reinhardt. "Where are you?" David calls out, his voice echoing in the desolation. No response. Panic grips his chest as he pushes through the debris, searching for signs of life among the wreckage. As he moves deeper into the room, the air thickens with an unsettling energy. The console flickers back to life, revealing fragmented images on the screens, snapshots of both 2025 and 1952. People flee in terror in one timeline, while soldiers march in lockstep in another. David's hands shake as he grasps the edge of the console, feeling the power coursing just beneath the surface. "Reinhardt!" he shouts again, desperation creeping into his tone. Just then, the door bursts open. Reinhardt stumbles in, his uniform torn and dirt-streaked, a look of fierce determination etched on his face. "We have less time than I thought," he says, voice steady despite the evident danger. "The archive is coming for us, and the timelines are still collapsing." David's heart sinks. What do we do? I thought stabilizing the intersection would buy us time. It did, but they're aware of our presence now. They can feel the rupture. You need to focus. We have to connect the lines before it gets worse. Reinhardt's eyes dart nervously towards the door. David nods, glancing back at the screens. They flicker ominously, shifting between the two realities. How? How do we fix this? There's a secondary control panel in the adjacent room. But we have to split up. You're the key here, David. You know what to do. Reinhardt gestures toward the door, but David hesitates. "What if you don't make it back?" he asks, the words barely escaping his lips. Reinhardt's gaze softens, if only for a moment. "We don't have time for that. You need to trust me and trust yourself." With a sudden rush of resolve, David grips Reinhardt's shoulder. "I will. Just don't do anything stupid." They share a brief, tense nod before David races towards the exit, every step echoing in the chaos. As he opens the door, a wave of heat and noise floods over him. The corridor stretches ahead, flickering lights casting erratic shadows. He feels a chill creeping down his spine. The archive's agents are closer than ever. He moves with purpose, adrenaline pumping through his veins. David reaches the secondary control panel, a battered piece of machinery clinging to life. The screens blink erratically, displaying a myriad of coordinates and timelines. His fingers fly over the buttons, desperate to stabilize the chaos. He can feel the fabric of reality strained, a tug-of-war between the two worlds. "Come on," he mutters under his breath, sweat beading on his forehead. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberates behind him. David spins around, and the sight before him makes his blood run cold. A squad of agents from the archive storms into the corridor, uniformed men with steely expressions and weapons drawn. "Keller," one of them barks, stepping forward. "You have something that belongs to us." David's heart races, panic clawing at his insides. He backs away towards the panel, eyes darting for an escape route. "You won't take anything from me." The lead agent smirks, a predatory glint in his eyes. "We're not here to negotiate. Hand over the coordinates, and we'll make this quick." David's mind races, weighing his options. The coordinates are all he has left, the only chance to save his reality. "You'll have to kill me first," he retorts, his voice steady despite the fear gripping him. "Very well," the agent replies, unflinching. Before they can act, David's instincts kick in. He lunges towards the control panel, slamming a series of buttons. The screens erupt in blinding light, the power surging through the room like a tempest. "Stabilize the coordinates," he shouts, and in that moment, he feels a connection, a fragile thread tying him to both realities. The agents stumble back, momentarily blinded by the radiance. David taps into the energy, amplifying it with every ounce of focus. The air crackles with electricity, the very walls vibrating with tension. "I can't let you take this from me." Just then, a scream pierces the air. It's Reinhardt's voice, echoing from the corridor. "David, there." The scream is cut off abruptly as David's heart drops. He has to make a choice, stay and fight for his reality, or risk everything to save his ally. In the fading light, a shadow looms behind him, and he knows the archive's agents won't wait for his decision. With a newfound determination, David completes the sequence, fingers flying over the keys. The power surges, and he braces himself for whatever comes next. What will he sacrifice for the chance to rewrite history? The future of two worlds hangs in a balance, and he is the fulcrum. The energy around him pulsates, drawing him towards an unknown destiny. David knows now that the final confrontation is upon him, and the consequences will alter everything, including himself.
Chapter 12. The Final Choice.
David stands at the control panel, the bright screens casting frantic shadows on his face, illuminating the rising fear in his eyes. The echoes of Reinhardt's scream still resonate in his ears, a chilling reminder of the stakes at hand. He feels the prickling sensation of time itself bending around him, each breath heavy with the weight of impending choices. He glances back at the corridor where the agents are gathering their bearings after the blinding flash. Time is slipping away, but he knows he can't abandon Reinhardt. The narrow corridor, now filled with dark figures, feels like a mouth ready to swallow him whole. "I have to do this," he whispers to himself, a mantra against the growing dread. The archive agents begin to recover, shaking off the disorientation. David's heart thunders in his chest as he prepares to face them. Each pounding beat echoes the choices he must make. Should he stabilize the coordinates and risk losing Reinhardt, or should he rush into the fray, potentially sealing the fate of both their realities? The thought sends a surge of adrenaline through him. "We don't have time for your games, Keller," the lead agent snarls, stepping forward, a gun glinting ominously in his grit. "You can't win this fight." "Watch me," David retorts, determination igniting a fire within him. He redirects his focus back to the control panel, locking in the coordinates for the 2025 timeline. "I'll rewrite history if I have to." Fingers dancing over the controls, David chants the coordinates aloud. As the numbers lock into place, he feels a surge of energy reverberate through him. The screens flash with a brilliance that illuminates the entire room. "I can do this," he shouts, fueled by hope and desperation. The agents flinch, momentarily blinded by the radiance erupting from the panel. David seizes the moment, his body propelled with urgency. He bolts toward the corridor, ready to confront the agents, but a thought strikes him. He can't let them use his knowledge. He has to secure the coordinates first. He spins to face the agents, raising his voice over the crackling energy. "You'll never understand the power of these coordinates. You can't control what you don't comprehend." The lead agent's expression shifts, a mixture of anger and envy flashing across his face. "You fool! Hand them over!" David's instincts scream at him to run, but he steels himself. "No, I won't let you take this from me, or the world." As if sensing his resolve, the lead agent gestures to his companions. "We have other ways to persuade you." The agents fan out, weapons aimed, closing in on him with an air of calculated menace. Each step brings the weight of their intentions, heavy and predatory.
David's mind races, searching for a plan. Then a flicker of movement catches his eye. Reinhardt emerges from the dark, blood-stained but alive, a fierce determination set in his gaze. "David, get out of here. I'll hold them off."
"No, I won't leave you." The frantic emotions rise within David, but there's no time for debate. Reinhardt's presence is a beacon as David weighs his choices. The coordinates are locked in, but the building trembles around them, reality itself bending under the pressure of forces clashing. "You think you can save him?" The lead agent sneers. "You're outnumbered. You can't escape this." Reinhardt shouts, "You have to trust me, David. Go!" David's heart lurches. He's torn between the man who has stood by his side and the chance to stabilize their realities. "I can't just leave you to them." But the tension is unbearable. The energy pulsating, reality quaking, and the agents advancing. David's instincts scream at him to act, to choose. In a split-second decision, he lunges toward Reinhardt. "Grab my hand. We're getting out." Just as their fingers brush, a deafening crash erupts, the building shaking violently. A wall splinters, revealing a swirling portal tearing through dimensions, a fissure between 2025 and 1952. The agents momentarily stagger, their focus shifting, allowing David and Reinhardt a brief window.
"Now," David shouts, pulling Reinhardt toward the portal, but the agents are regaining their composure. David's heart races as he feels the tug of two worlds, both real, both beautiful and terrible. With one leap,
They dive into the portal as the world around them implodes into chaos. Flashes of light envelop them, twisting the very fabric of their reality. They tumble through the void, sensations of time and space warping around them. David clutches Reinhardt's arm, their fates intertwined, tethered by their choices. Realization dawns. This leap could alter everything, their lives and the very essence of both timelines. They land on the other side, crashing hard onto a polished floor. David gasps for air, dazed but alive. He quickly scans their surroundings. They're back in the Reich complex, but something feels off. The atmosphere is charged, and he can hear the echoing chaos of reality folding in on itself. "What did we do?" Reinhardt whispers, his voice tinged with both relief and fear. "Did we change it?" David looks around, panic seeping in. "I don't know. We have to check the control panel." But as they rush toward the control room, a sense of dread coils in David's gut. They may have escaped the agents, but something ominous looms in the air, a specter of the consequences they have set in motion. A shadow flickers at the edge of his vision, an ominous reminder that the archive is still hunting him. He glances at Reinhardt, who shares his uncertainty. "We have to make sure the coordinates are still intact. If the timelines collapse." "If they collapse, we could lose everything," Reinhardt finishes, his voice heavy with the weight of their reality. David nods, determination hardening in his chest. "We'll fix this. We will find a way." The resolve in his voice echoes a promise, a bond forged in the fires of choice and consequence. Together, they press onward into the unknown, knowing that their journey is far from over. The true battle for their worlds awaits, and only through understanding the nature of reality can they hope to save what is left. The future is uncertain, but as long as they stand united, there's a chance, a flickering hope in the dark.
What will they uncover in the depths of the archive? And will their choices be enough to rewrite their fate? The answers lie ahead, tangled in the shadows of time. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, ring the bell, and tell your friends about my listening library. If you want an even richer listening experience, download our app at mylisteninglibrary.com.